All right, guys, so today I'm just going to go over a quick workflow tutorial basically to show you how to use Git, especially when you're in a team setting, because that's going to be a little bit different than when you're working alone. You're going to have to worry about changes that other people are making, and that those changes might affect your code. So this is going to be a good foundation for you to use as far as collaborating on a team project, or if you are working and contributing to an open source project. Either way, this is generally going to be pretty close to the workflow you want to follow yourself. You can modify it however you see fit, but just to give you a starting point, this is some of the stuff I plan on covering. I wrote a little notepad thing, so let's go ahead and open that up just to see what we're going to do today. Sure. So, first thing we're going to do is GitHub access. So we need to make sure that we can access the repo. If you are working on an open source project, that is just simply going to be coming in and basically knowing the URL that you want to go to. In my case, it's going to be a project that we're working on for school. So I'm going to open up my favorite browser, which is Chrome. I recommend you use it too. And then what we're going to do is go github.com/ and there's my username. So github.com/ whatever your username for your account is. As you can see, I was signed in earlier today, so I'm already signed in. If not, you're going to want to click that button in the menu, and at the bottom it'll say sign in. And once you have access to your account, what you can do is come in here, and for my example, I'm working with an organization, so it's right here. I can click on it. That takes me to the organization's profile, or I could have typed it in up here. And I'm going to go to the repo, or I could have clicked here. And then I'm going to open up the one I want to work on in case there are multiple of them. Okay, so I can see the code. I have access to this project. I can work on this if I want to, which means that we can go to the next project, or part of working on this project, which is I typically like to fork the project. So let's go ahead and I'll show you GitHub. There's my thing. I already did it, but let's just go ahead. We can come in here and super simple, start over. Down to the bottom, delete the repository. Come on. And it's gonna make me type all that. Yeah, simulation. And I understand the consequences, deleting. Okay, boom, it's gone. So now if I come back and I can just shortcut here. So I'm in my repositories again. If you see, it's not here. If I go back to overview, it's not going to be listed there. So we'll start fresh. I want to work on this project. I'm a member of the organization. My admin has already given me access to the code, so I can come here and I can open up the code. I can see it. And I personally like to have a copy of it on my account. So if I come here and go back, I want it to show up here. Why is that here? That, go away. I want it to show up here just like that did. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna visit here, and as long as you're signed in, you'll have this option to fork. Okay, and look what it says, make a copy of this project. Okay, that's what I wanna do. So I wanna work on this project, and I want the owner to be Kenny. Source code JavaScript. Let's add traffic. And we're going to create a fork. And it's based off of master. I cannot talk today, guys. I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes. Okay, so there we go. We made a fork and we are in our project. See, it's our username and the same name. And then we see that it came from the organization. So if I come here, if I refresh again, now it's going to show up again. There it is. Boom. So now it's on my account. I can access this one. And what I can do, so now we forked. So let's go ahead and we'll mark these off as we go. So that one's done. That one's done. So now we need to clone the repo to our computer, right? So let's see. I need to know where I want this folder to go. So I already made a folder on my computer so that I know where it goes. So I'm going to come to where it is, which is going to be an E. It's going to be root as a school project, and I'm working in a group, so it's going to be in the group project folder. So I can delete this. This is where I want the code to go. So what I can do is I can come in here, and rather than coming down and typing cmd and coming here and then cding and during and all that, I can close this. Faster ways to come command line or the file explorer, enter in cmd for command line, hit enter, and look at boom, right there it takes me to where I want. And now I can use git to clone, and we're going to copy this, and in the terminal you're going to use a right click or control V to paste. So there it is. I have the thing, it's coming from my account. I'm gonna hit enter. All right, so it's at 10%. As you can see, we're gonna wait for this to load, but what it's doing is it created this folder. Inside there's Git. If you don't see this, just come up here to view and you're gonna show hidden. See, boom, there it is. So that just means that this folder is being tracked by Git. So right here, we're about to hit 100. All this stuff will fill out and we will have our project ready to go. Boom, there it is. There's all the files. Okay, so now we have it here. We can look at and bash css, everything's the same. That's the point of cloning. We see that we have this option. We'll get back to this in a little bit, but right now we have our project, and let's say we want to add a file called hello world. So add hello. So now we've cloned it and we're working on this right now. Okay, so let's say we want to add that project. Well, we just made it here, and let's say I want to launch this. I want to open this in VS Code. Well, one way is I could open VS Code and I could drag this folder in there and that would open it. That's the second quickest way. I think it's a little quicker to go cmd, open this, type code space dots for here, and hit enter. Boom, right there. I'm already in VS Code. Everything's all set up and I'm where I want to be. So I trust it because I know who it came from. And now I can close this, because from now on, if I'm working in the terminal, I am going to be using the terminal here, which if you want to use keyboard shortcuts, which are these things that you can see using control, what we're going to do is we're going to see toggle control. So control and the tilde will show me that. If I want to make a new one though, shift control tilde, and now you can see I have two. That's just going to make a new one. Either one's going to open it. So now I can open here. I can work from here if I want to do anything. So let's say I want to do a git status. I haven't made any changes yet, so it should tell me that I'm on master and that I'm on a clean working tree. There we go, boom. So we know that Git's working. If you don't have this, that means something's wrong and Git is not working properly. You're probably gonna have to Google to figure out what the error is. Otherwise, you're with me and we can continue moving on. So let's say I want to, and I'm going to do a mistake on purpose here for the point of demonstrating. I want to show you guys the point of, we're gonna add hello, right? So let's create a folder. It's gonna be test folder, and it's down here, and in that folder there's nothing, but I want to add a file called hellos.html. Sure. And again, we can use shortcuts, so that, and if I hit enter, I got doc. And actually, let me see if that's not gonna do it. Okay. Or let's look up. I'm sure there's something easier. We can just copy and paste and me have to type it out. See, look how easy this is gonna be. Guys, don't reinvent the wheel here. If you can get it online, get it online. All right. Hellos. So that's what we're gonna make. We made our file, we made our folder, we're done. So we made the changes, we hit save, we're good to go. But now we have this little one over here in the version control. It's telling us that we have changes that we need to make. So I could click this plus and put it into stage, and I can do everything here, but we're better than that. We're gonna do it through the terminal to make sure you guys know all the commands. So first thing I'm gonna do is run git status again. That's gonna show me that this folder is untracked. But what's the problem? Have you guys caught it? We're still in the master branch. It is best practice, especially when working in teams, that you do not make direct changes to the master branch. Anything you do, you want to do in an isolated section of code so that if you mess up, you're not going to be 500 control Z's away from the original working code. So I don't want this here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at, we've done this. We're going to come back and we're going to look at git stash. So let's say you accidentally made the change. You forgot that we were working in master. You didn't make a branch. And now you have all these changes that you've made. You've saved it. So it's on your computer, it's saved, but it's not in Git. You haven't committed anything yet. Even if you did commit, you can do a git stash. But let's just say you're at this stage and we want to stash all the untracked files. That means that we want to put it away somewhere. Stash it, like, think the name is pretty accurate. So we're gonna use git to stash and then -u, and that's gonna be for untracked. That's what the U stands for. So if I do that, what you're gonna see, go ahead and watch right here, these two files are gonna disappear. Boom, gone. So it's not deleted, as you can see, save working directory in the index. Okay, so we have it saved, but it's not on our master branch anymore. It's off in another piece of memory, off in the computer. So now what we can do is we can switch branches, because what would happen is all of those changes that we just made, we would have lost if I had just switched to the new branch, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to create the new branch, which is, there's two ways to do this. So one, let's go ahead and do git branch. So this is the command that most commonly, it's like the new command that you use, and it's going to show me that the only branch we have is master, and that's the one we're currently on. Well, I could make another branch and I could call it sandbox. We'll make a sandbox for ourselves. That's somewhere we can go and get dirty and mess around with the code and not have to worry about breaking things. So boom, now if I do git branch again, think about what just happened. Why is it not showing me anything here? It's because all we told it to do was create the sandbox. We didn't tell it to go there. We didn't tell it to switch. We didn't tell us to display status, nothing else. So that's all it did. And then it returned the control back to us. So if I come up here, now you can see that we have our sandbox. But that's not what we're working on. So we could do it there, but we want to name our branches in a way that we know what the branch was working on. So let's call this one add hello, right? So we're going to do add hello. That's the branch we want to call, and we want to git branch. Well, we could do it this way, and just like we saw with sandbox, it would create the branch and then end. But as soon as we do this, we're going to switch to it, right? So for example, if I wanted to go into the sandbox, I would use git to switch to sandbox, and boom, there we are. Now we're in sandbox. If I run git branch again, now it's going to say, okay. I think we broke it. That should not have happened. So this is why we always use git branch and we check where we're at, because see, nothing's happening. We're in a space that isn't being tracked, and it's because I did not capitalize the B. Very interesting. It should have given me an error. For example, if I typed in XYZ, is it going to do that too? No. So it should, I don't know why. It should have given us this fatal invalid error when we did the switch, but it didn't. It took us to sandbox, and that was the issue that we had with git checkout. If I had done git checkout sandbox, it would take you there, just like it did. See, it said switch to sandbox, But sandbox doesn't exist. We just entered into the void. Like, I don't know if that's in the Matrix. I never saw the movie, but if we did, it's sort of like that. We entered into this blank space in between realities, and it doesn't really exist. If we were to make any changes to this code or anything here, it wouldn't be saved. Git's not tracking this. It's only tracking sandbox with a capital B and master. So let's go ahead and figure out why. That's so weird. Okay, let's do git switch, and we're gonna type it the right way this time. Switch to sandbox. If I do git branch, now we're in sandbox. Okay, so this is why I always check, because even though switch was specifically designed to prevent that exact thing from happening, you just saw that it broke. I don't know why, but now we're in sandbox. If I did, because I think they also changed git checkout to fix this as well. So if I could check out XYZ, yeah, so they did add an error to the checkout as well. So, I mean, either way, you should have been protected, but that was the original issue with using git checkout, which I'm about to go over in just a second, is that now that we're in sandbox, let's say that we're creating the new branch and it's going to be called add hello, right? So we're going to do git branch add hello. Well, if I want to do that, it's only going to add it, but it's not going to take me there. If I want to do that all in one command, what I can do is delete this and do checkout -b. That's going to say I want to check out, which is the same as saying switch, this branch add hello. But at the same time, you're also running the git branch, which is the -b, and that's going to create the add hello branch. So if we run this, it's going to not only add the new branch, which is going to show up here in this list, but it's going to take us there, so it should be green. So as you can see, it switched to it. If I do git branch again, we are in it. So it did both the commands in one go. That is typically what I'm going to do, is use git checkout -b and then add hello to name the branch. Now that I'm here, I want to implement those changes that we accidentally made on master. So in order to do that, I'm going to do, or use git to access stash, and I want to pop it, because stash is basically in a stack diagram. So we're just going to take the most recent changes that we put in stash and we're going to have it come here. Boom. So there it is. Now you can see the folder just popped up. There's our hello world and we're good to go. All right. So these are the changes we want to make. It's still on track though. So we're back here at adding this. So what we want to do is we want to, just like hitting the plus, we want to git add, and then we can do -a, which means all. We can do a wildcard, which is the asterisk, and it just means anything. So any word, any letter, any file name. Or we can do the git dot, which means everything here, just like when we said we want to open VS Code here. So we're going to do that. As you can see, all of them just went up into stage. So now we can do, just like if we were to type the message here and hit commit, we're going to do it in the command line. So git commit -m, and then in parentheses, because we're going to have spaces, unlike with switch and when we're using branches, those are always going to be one word or no spacing in it, but this one will. So we're going to say added hello world file and folder, closing quotes. God, this is going to be a rough tutorial. Okay, so there we go. We see it's gone. Nothing here, nothing to report. So if I do a git status now, it's going to tell me I'm on a clean working tree. Working tree, clean. Okay, so and I'm on this branch, right? So what I want to do is I want to use git, and I want to push these changes up to GitHub. I want it to be on my account here so that I can do a pull request. But what's the problem? Is when you're working in teams, you don't know that, say my buddy Alex had made changes to the code, and his changes were added to the code in between the time that we cloned this to our computer and when we wanted to run this push command. Well, the issue is we wouldn't have those changes, and those changes might cause an issue with the code that we're trying to add right now. So just to try to avoid merge conflicts or any code that would conflict with one another, what we're going to do before we push every single time, I don't ever want you to push without pooling first, is you're going to do a git pull. And because we're not on master, so for example, on master, I could type this in, hit enter, and it would just pool because it knows master is on the GitHub. But this one, it doesn't know. So what I'm going to have to do is specify the information. But I'll show you what happens if we try to run this. It's going to give us an error and tell me how to properly do it. So one, say we're going to use this branch for a long time, and every time we do git pull, we want it to automatically pull from the same place every time. We can use git branch, and we can set the upstream to origin, and then the branch name, and then say add it to this branch, and that's going to make it so it's locked in just like master. All we do is type in this command and it will work. Since we're going to be opening and closing branches a lot, determining or based on the issue or whatever we're trying to change in the code, it's not really that important. So what you're going to do most of the time is just this setup for the command, which is going to be git, I want to use git to pull from, and then it's going to be the remote location. In this case, the keyword is origin, and then the branch that we want to pull is going to be master. It's going to be whatever the branch is on GitHub. So when I come here, I see master. That's the one I want to pull from. So if that's the case, I'm going to do that. Hit run. Come on, hit run. Oh my God. See, so Fat Finger McGee over here added a 3, and that doesn't exist on GitHub. So if I just fix that, you can see that we're already up to date. Okay, so no changes were made that's going to conflict with this code that we just added. So what we're going to do is now we can do our git push. And where do we want to push it? It's going to go upstream. It's going to go to the remote origin. So to origin. And what are we pushing? It's going to be whatever branch that we're currently on, which if you come up to the status, where is the most recent status? Right here, we're on add hello. So add hello. So if we run that, let's go ahead and shrink this a little bit. So if we run this, what it's going to do is it's going to push all the changes we just made up onto here, including adding this branch to GitHub. So if I come here right now and I come down to view all branches, we don't have anything here. This is the only one. But as soon as I run this command, bam. Okay, so it says it's done. Everything is done. It says create a pull request. So if I click this button, control, and hold control down when I click, it's going to open the thing in here. So we don't need to do that. What we're going to do is just refresh this page and look at the changes. There it is. That's the branch we just created. We push it up to GitHub. It's here. We know it's here. And we know that we're not going to make any more changes here. So what we're going to do is git switch back to master, and then git branch to make sure that we're there. Always double check, because even the computer can make mistakes, as you saw. And now that we're here, what we can do is git and branch, and then we're going to specify that we want to delete it. So it's -D, but we also want to make sure that's a forced delete. It's just a little more thorough. So we're going to do -D capital, and then we're going to name the branch that we want to delete. Add hello. Now, a common mistake I see people make is that they will run this command without switching to master, and that's going to be the same problem as what we saw up here when the switch failed, is that it's going to delete the branch, but then it would leave you outside of any folder or any memory space that Git is tracking, which means that if you start making changes or doing anything, it's going to basically be lost because there's no way to store or use Git like we did with stash. So now that we know we're on master, we can run this command because we also know it's here. We don't want this branch on our computer anymore because we're done with it. Personally, I would hold off on that until we go through this process of making a pull request. So if I open this, we can see this is the code. We can see right here is test folder. If I open it, I can go into HTML, and there is all the stuff that we added. So I can come back here, and as you can see at the top of this branch, when we open it, it gives us the option to pull. So let's do a compare and pull. And as you can see, by default, it's going to send this back to the original project that we had, right? Well, maybe we don't want to do that. Let's say we have other changes we want to make, and we want to keep this on our repository. We're going to just use the drop down, type it in here, or use it's usually at the top, and find the one that you want. As soon as we change it, it's going to drop to master, because that's right. So master, we're just merging into master. We're going to add hello file. Yep. And we're going to create a pull request. Okay. So right there, it did a check for any merge conflicts, and it says you're good to go. And we have access to merge this into the branch because we have set this up on our account, not the team account. So we have control over everything. We can go ahead and say, yeah, that's all good. We know we're good. Keep moving. Boom, right there. It's all successfully added. If you wanted to, you can delete the branch, make it real simple, and you always have the option to come back and restore it. However, I don't know exactly what the terms and conditions are for GitHub. I can look it up, but it doesn't really matter to me because if they were to ever change it, I'm not reading the terms and conditions every time that stupid little message comes up. So I typically will leave the branch. So I'm going to restore it. I want the branch here. I'm going to leave it here because when I go throughout the project, I want to be able to come back to this branch and not have to worry about it being deleted, and then be able to access all the changes that were made right here. So see, I can see what changed. So from here, we have successfully merged. So if I come back to pull requests, you're going to see open none, closed one. We can see that it's here. If I come back to the code, we have master. We still have our branch. If I come here, or if, let's just do all, you can see that it has a merge status. And if we wanted to, we could protect the master branch, which would require approval, things like that. So if we click that, we can come here and require pull request approvals, and that means that one person has to approve it. I don't care about that, right? So I'm just gonna back out of this. But that's set up on the team account, for example. So when I do merge this, which I'm going to show you right now, back to this Angry Nerd, the team organization account, it's going to have a protected branch. It's not going to allow any developer to just make changes willy-nilly to the project without someone else reviewing the changes before it gets added in. So what we can do is we can come back to our repository on our account, right? And what you can see is at the top, you're always going to have this message here because this is a fork. It's going to tell you that you are now 2 commits. One would be the commit that said that we made the change, adding the file in the folder. The second commit is the acceptance of the pull or the merging. And we want to contribute that. So again, what we're going to do is come here, open a pull request, and it's going to be the same process as what we just went through. But this time we're back and this looks pretty familiar, right? So this is the Angry Nerds. This is the one that we want to send it to. These are all the other forks of the same project. See, traffic simulation. All these projects are from the original open source project. They're just different forks, and we can send them to whoever we want. But in this case, we want to send it to our team, which is the Angry Nerds. And we want to put it on their master branch. We can specify other branches. For example, you can see that my buddy Alex has 2 branches currently on the organization repo. I don't want to put them there. I want it to go into the project. So we're going to put it here, and we're going to tell the team what we did. So we added hello. Yep. All right, let's keep going. So now we're going to do the create pull request, and what you're going to see different here is we're not going to be able to merge. So it didn't detect any merge conflicts because we just added stuff, so it's not going to conflict or cause issues with the existing code. But as you can see, at least one approval is required. So someone else other than me has to go in and do that pull request. So even if I were to come to this Angry Nerds, I'm on the account, right? I can go to pull requests. I can see that it's here. I can open it, but I still don't have any way to review this. This is why you're going to have access, or have your partner or admin, whoever it is that you're working with, another team member, they're going to have to open their own. So I'm going to log in here. Oh, there it is, actually. So this is the organization. Here's the repo, right? So I can open this, and right here I have pull requests. Okay, so Now I can work on this pull request if I open it as, and again, look at, this is the key difference, is that I'm signed in as someone else. If I open this, I can now have this button over here that says add your review. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, ooh, pretty changes. I like it. I want to keep it. We're going to review the changes. I like it a lot. And we're going to hit approve. Okay. If we leave a comment, that's just going to give feedback to the person. They can view it. And then approve is going to allow the merge to take place. Otherwise, we can deny it basically and say that this is not suitable. You need to make changes before it can be approved. So in this case, we're just going to approve it. We're going to hit submit review. So you might have to do this for somebody else. And now you yourself as the, again, as the organization admin or as another team member, you can merge it, or you can leave a comment, because again, as you can see, they'll be notified as well. They can come here and they can merge it. So either person can merge. In this case, I'm going to do it from my account, assuming he just gave me access and approved it. I'm going to merge, it'll update both. And this is just confirmation. Yep, I added hello. Okay, so boom. So now we have it. If I come here to my account, to this traffic simulation, I'm going to refresh so that we have the right messages. So you can see I'm one commit behind. That's because we did the pull request. The pull request is a commit. It's going to be, when it's accepted, it's going to be added to the project, but that wasn't on ours. So we're one behind here. But if I come down, we have the folder on my account. This is where we put it first. But now if I come back and go to the Angry Nerds traffic and I go to the code and I look at master, boom, there it is right there. We got test folder. All right, so now that we have it here and we approved the pull request, which again, you can always go back to, we have 5 closed. Those are just other tests. So we're back. We know that the changes are here. We're good to go. So we can technically close this. I'll leave it open just in case. And what we can do is from my account now, to make sure that you are always up to date, you want to make sure that you come here and you always are syncing. See, this branch is out of date. We want to make sure that we pull changes that the original project has made into our, because we made a copy onto our account, they're not going to stay in perfect harmony sync. So we have to do that ourselves. So you're going to come here, and anytime that this says you're behind, you're going to want to update. So we're going to wait. Okay, and now we have the merge pull request added. So now we're up to date. If I click this again, no option. I love the little comments they leave. And we're good to go. You already saw how to use contribute. We have our changes made here. It's also on our computer. The only difference is now we need to make sure that our master is up to date, because remember, we made the changes here. So on our computer, on our local machine, the changes only exist here. Master was made before that. Same with Sandbox. If we switch to either of those, for example, I come up here to files, there is no test folder. So again, I'm going to go ahead and run this delete message now that we have finished and gone through the whole process, and I know that I don't need to come back and make changes because the admin said that he didn't like it. That's why you wait. Is now that we know that it's done, we're not going to work on this again. We can delete the branch from our computer. We don't need it anymore. And yes, even though the changes are only there, we already know that they're on GitHub, so we can pull it down once again, and that's what we're going to do right now. So to get the test folder back on our computer so that it's in master and any new branches we make are also up to date with master, we're going to do git pull. And remember, I said that because we're in master, we don't need to update this statement, this command with the origin and the branch. It already knows that because it's been hardwired in the same way it gave us the command that would allow us to do it on other branches. So git pull, it's going to work just fine. And look at added test folder, and right here it is. Boom. So now it's in master, but again, watch test folder right here. If I switch to Sandbox, I actually want to see if that fails again. Maybe it was a one-time thing. Nope, it was not a one-time thing. It's something about that name. Okay. Okay, so we're in sandbox, right? Look it, folder gone. So what do we need to do again? Any other branches that have been out of date, if we're working on it, the first thing you do when you switch into a branch is you're going to pull. Where are you pulling it from? From origin. And what branch are you pulling from origin? It's going to be master. Boom, there's our test folder. All right, so one more time. That is basically everything that we covered. So we went through, we did how to update Git, we did creating a branch, we did staging and committing, we pushed the changes up, we went to GitHub and we confirmed that the branch was there and it existed and that we could delete it from our computer. But before we did that and we actually deleted it, we went through the process of doing a pull request, which would merge it into the project on our account. And then we did a sync, well, two things. We did a contribute, which was a second pull request, and that sends it back to the original project, so the team project. Once we did that, we did a sync in order to keep our user account project up to date. And then we came back once we knew everything was done and we weren't going to use that branch anymore. We deleted it from the branch. Again, if I come here, even though it's gone and it's not listed on my computer, I still, I'm in, again, remember which account you're in. So I'm in my account now. If I come to master, I still have that branch. I can always go back to it. I can always recreate it on my computer. I always have access to it. So it's great for documentation. But that's everything. The only thing left is a merge conflict, and I'm going to have to cover that in another video because this one is getting a little long. And merge conflict is basically just when you make, and here I'll show you what the official definition is. Causes of, oh, I saw it right there. Merge conflicts. So often merge conflicts happen when people make different changes to the same line of the same file, or when one person edits a file and another person deletes the same file. A key thing in this description is another person. So in order for me to cause a merge conflict, I'm pretty sure I'd have to log in as a different account. But I'll get back to that. I'll make a video on how to resolve a merge conflict when it does come up. We'll pull up a little image right here just to show you real quickly. So this is the old, that's the old way it used to look. Here's what it looks like in VS Code. So as you can see, let's go ahead and just open this in a new tab. You would get this message when you'd get the merge conflict, you'd pull it down onto your computer, and when you do, it's going to give you this option inside of the file that says that these are the changes you made. You had red, then you had green, that's what it originally was, but then you changed it to white. So now there's no more green, and they replaced green with white, and it's blue. Red, white, and blue. America. Well, if we want that to happen, what you can do is either you can delete all the text that GitHub added. So you can delete this branch, you can delete these equal signs, which is just a spacer, and you can delete this head. And then if you do that, all that's left is line 3 and 5. That would be green and white. That would be equivalent to if you hit accept both. It's going to keep both of them. However, in our case, we want it to be, we're from America. We want it to be red, white, and blue. So we would also delete green. And what that would be equal to, because all of these are buttons up here, we would be the same as if we had said accept incoming change. So again, blue is the incoming change. That's the one we want to accept. That would automatically delete these lines 2, 3, and 4 and line 6, which will leave us with line 1 saying red, line 2, I'm assuming, saying white, and line 3 being blue. So that would be left in the file. And then we would just go through the same process, see, git merge. So we would just go through the same process of doing a push and always pulling before we push to get it back onto GitHub. Again, GitHub would recognize that we have resolved the merge conflict, and we would just basically continue as we just did in this example, in this demo. Submit the pull request, have someone review it and merge it in, and then make sure that our forks are all up to date with the original projects. And if you do all that, then you are good to go. You got it all covered. Again, that was a very light overview of how merging works, or specifically a merge conflict. It's just going to present you with the different changes and then ask you what you want to actually keep So you'll just tell GitHub how you want that to be, and you'll be good to go. So other than that, you are good to go. That is the basics of how to use Git, and especially when working in a team flow. So the most important things to remember are always create a branch for whatever you're working on. If you make a branch, or if you forget to make a branch and you make changes to the master, but then need to move that to the branch that you were supposed to create, before you create and switch the branch, you need to stash all of those changes so that you can then stash pop or bring those changes to the new branch. And then anytime that you are closing a branch, you always are going to push it up to GitHub. And before you push, you're always going to pull so that you don't run into these merge conflicts. Because if you did a pull prior, then you would have known that this green was there and that you were deleting it. The issue is that someone else made this change and you made this change. So it just said red, blue, and someone put green and you had white. That's a conflict. So you have to decide which person was correct. That's like the point of a merge conflict. So in that case, you could have resolved it had you done a pull, had the green that someone else added on your computer before you did the push. You would have been able to fix it immediately. You would have seen green was there. You would have said, "Nuh-uh, not in my lifetime." And you would have taken it out. And then you wouldn't have to go through this whole process. So that is why every single time you push, you are always going to pull. Every single time you switch branches, you are always going to pull. You always want to make sure that the code you're working on is as up to date as possible. Even if you're in the middle of making changes, it's never going to hurt you to do a git pull. Odds are it's just going to say that you're already up to date and you just continue on. But that's one thing that's going to be really important, because working on GitHub as a team, it's not like CodePen or what's that other one called? I forget. Where the code is live online with a server that's monitoring for changes and going to show you the changes that other people make as it happens. You have to do that yourself. That is git pull. So don't let other people's work conflict with your work. So you always git pull. Then you're going to do the git push. You're going to merge. You're going to approve other people's merges depending on your roles in the team. And you're good to go. I mean, other than that, you just, once you know for a fact that you're not going to use your branch anymore, you can delete it from your local machine, which is the git branch -d, capital D, and then the name of the branch. And you'll be good to go, because as I said before, you're going to leave the branch on GitHub so that you have documentation. You can always go back to it. Or worst case, maybe a week later, you decide, hey, I need to work on that branch again, and I need to, I don't know, maybe remove that folder that we just created, which might be what we cover in the merge conflict video. Who knows? But you always have the access to pull this branch back down onto your computer and continue working from exactly where that branch was. So that's generally the best workflow I could recommend, at least as a foundation. There's going to be a lot of things that you can change. For example, when you're working with git commit messages, if you have a project going, which I can show you from here, you see we have a project. If I were to come into this here and I turned any of these into an issue, let's see, I know there's, all right, so let's say I want to turn this into an issue and I want to apply it to that. So number 7, well, I could reference number 7 in a git commit. So watch, so git commit issue close, or let's, so what I could do is there's a whole list of them, but basically this is just what I want to show you, is if I had made a commit message that says closes number 2, or there's a whole list of options. Let's see what the, there it is. So if I used any of these keywords right here, and I wanted to put that right before the number, which in this case was, where is it? In this case, number 7. I could put close or result or whatever I wanted to do, and then the number 7. And when I push that commit up to GitHub, GitHub is automatically going to know that I wanted to affect that issue, which means it's going to come here, it's going to open this ticket, and it's going to do this automatically. It's going to close the issue as if I did it here. And then based on your workflow, which I can show you in other videos, your project board might automatically know that anytime a ticket in any board is closed, it automatically is going to move it to in progress. And then in progress, or from in progress to in review right here. So instead of having to come here and drag and move all of these individually, you can set up automations to do this for you based on your Git commits. So there's a lot more that you can add to your general workflow, especially when you're working alone or in teams. But just for generally working with multiple people or on open source projects, what we covered in this video is going to probably be the most helpful for you, at least in building a foundation that you can then adapt and branch off of, pun intended, into your own workflow. So hopefully you find this video helpful. You can use it to refer back. If I have time, I'll add timestamps so that you can easily jump from area to area within the video. But until then, you have this video free to your access. You can rewatch as many times as you need, and hopefully this will help you out. If you have any questions or anything that I missed or any advice for other people watching, go ahead and add it in the comments. Otherwise, have a good day.